In this short video tutorial, we will understand how to get an integer type input from the user, which the user will enter from the keyboard. Now let's start writing a program by first including the stdio.h header file, and we'll create the main function for a program. Now let's create an integer type variable a to which we have not given any value. You need to remember that if you do not give any value to your variables when you declare them, they get some random value by default, and that random value is what we call as the garbage value. So we have created an integer variable a, but we have not given it any value, so it will automatically get a garbage value which is of no use to us because we do not understand the meaning of that value. Suppose the variable a gets a value 5869, and you will not be able to make any sense of that value because that is not some value that you have given to this variable. Now what we want is, we want the user to enter the value from the keyboard which we will store in this variable a. Now let's print a message for the user which will say please enter a value, or please enter an integer value. So with this line the user will understand that okay, he or she has to enter some value from the keyboard. Now how do we accept the value that the user will enter from the keyboard? Now to read the value or to get the value from the keyboard, we have to make use of the scanf function. Now the printf function is used to print the value on the console window, whereas the scanf function is used to read the value that we enter from the keyboard. Now let's understand the syntax of the scanf function. This is what we will have to write inside the scanf function if we want to get an integer value from the keyboard and store it in our integer variable a. Now let's understand what we have. Let's understand the code that we have written in the scanf function. Now the scanf function, the first input that we have given is %d. %d says that whatever input we receive from the keyboard, we have to convert it into an integer value. Now remember that whatever you enter from the keyboard, everything is treated as a string by the program. So with %d, we are asking scanf to convert the value that it receives into an integer value. So we do not want to use it as a string, we want to convert it into an integer. Now what do we mean by %a? In C programming language, when you put the sign percentage in front of any variable, this means that we are accessing the address of this variable. So the percentage sign gives us the address of the variable. So the scanf function, the second input is %a. So what we are trying to say is, we are trying to tell the scanf function to accept the value from the keyboard and then convert it into an integer value and store it at the address of a. Now what we mean by the address of a, when you create any variable, like you have created a variable a over here, when you create any variable, it is assigned an address in the RAM. So whenever you are giving it a value or whenever you are reading a value from that variable, you are actually going to that memory location in the RAM where this variable has been created, and you are reading or writing the value from that memory location. So %a will give us the address of this variable a, which has been assigned by the computer to this variable a inside the RAM. Always remember that addresses that we talk about in the programming language are the addresses inside the RAM, not inside the hard disk. So this scanf function will read an input, convert it into a number, and then store it at the address of the variable a, which means that the variable a will actually get that value that we will enter from the keyboard. Now how do we know that the value that we have entered from the keyboard has been assigned to the variable a? Let's print the value. So we'll say printf the value you entered is percentage %d, comma a. So we are using the printf function to print back the value that we entered from the keyboard and stored in the variable a. Now let's run this program. Notice that the console window is asking us to enter some number from the keyboard. So let me enter a number as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now when I hit enter, the second printf statement has printed this line. The value you entered is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is the same as the value we entered from the keyboard. So by making use of the scanf function, you can accept values from the keyboard, convert them into proper types, and then store them at the address of the variable to which you actually want to assign that value. So with this, we'll end this short tutorial. To access our complete C programming course, please visit openeschool.com/learnc. Also, please subscribe to our channel to get regular updates on the new videos that we post.